New controversy over the decision to use taxpayer money to build a Muslim prayer room at Orlando's International Airport. Reverend Franklin Graham posted this on Facebook, quote, "Let's call this what it is, a mosque." How loud do you think the objections would be today if they spent $250,000 in taxpayer money to build a new prayer room exclusively for evangelical Christians?
At the Orlando International Airport, $250,000 has been spent to build what is being called a reflection room, but is in essence a prayer room devoted to people of the Muslim faith, a decision made after Emirates Airlines announced direct flights from Orlando to Dubai. But upon reflection, the decision has created a tempest. Those who point out there has always been an interfaith prayer room at the airport since 1983, with prayer rugs available for those in need, and see this as nothing more than bending to one religion because it is politically correct. Let's welcome back to the Hardline Regional Operations Director of the Council on American-Islamic Relations in Florida, Nezar Hamze, joins us here in the studio. Good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you.
Can you understand why this reaction is here? Because people see this as doing nothing more than bending to one religion, one faith, and spending taxpayer dollars.
Well, first of all, let's put it into perspective. It's not a mosque. It's a reflection room.
Yes.
So myself, yourself, Ed, member of the Jewish faith, anyone they want can go in this room and pray. So while it may be, being angled and tweaked in the media as a mosque, it's not a mosque. And so what? This is, we live in the United States of America. People have the freedom to practice their religion. If a Muslim wants to go pray in the airport accommodated, and that's great.
But why can't they do it in the interfaith room, though? They already have one. Why do they need a specific room that is set up for them?
Well, I mean, it's for everybody. It's not just for Muslims. The Orlando Airport was very specific when they said that. Now, is it accommodating the Muslims? Absolutely. It's open. They have an area where they can wash. But guess what? Who cares? Why are we so oversensitive now where people, listen, we're not talking about terrorist activity. We're not talking about extremism. We're talking about people praying to God. That's it. Why can't we go into that room? Me and you can go in there and pray together.
But you understand, though, what the whole issue is here, though, where people see this as being taxpayer money simply doing something to be politically correct. You understand that? Well,
I mean, the airport's saying they're not using taxpayer money to build this room. They've been very clear. They've said that. They've come out and said that. But if they can build a multi-purpose room, a multi-faith room, they can build another multi-faith room. Why are we being so oversensitive about it? Let's go pray in there together, and that's what it's for. What's the big deal?
All right.
Why do we have to make it an issue?
Then let's go ahead and let's talk about another prayer issue here. And this happened at the Empire State Building, where there was a group of people, a family, who decided to go to the top of the Empire State, the observation deck. Yeah. And they were completely clothed. Now, let's, again, be very frank. They were clothed head to toe. Only the eyes were being seen by the women in the group. And they were seen in an area and they were praying. The security guards, let's face it, we know about security here in this country right now. There is a fear. There have been ISIS killers overseas who have been dressing as women who have been carrying weapons underneath the clothing. So can you understand at least why there is a security concern? They ask them to leave. And then again, the family sues the state. They sue the Empire State. They get about a $5 million or such about settlement. That gnaws at people, though, Nezar, because they say if you want to pray someplace else. Why do you need to pray here when you are asked not to?
Well, Ed, I can, this is not the first time I've heard about, somebody that's praying and been in a full Muslim garb and praying, been stopped by law enforcement. The reality is we're seeing more and more Muslims pray in the open now, because they are appreciating and they're using their religious right to pray. So this particular instance on the Empire State Building, do I understand the security concern? I can understand if one is not educated and one is not doesn't know about the Muslim practices and the culture and the way.
But even if they do know, there's still the possibility. There have been people who have been smuggling weapons underneath the Muslim garb. Sure. Granted, that's incorrect, that's wrong, that's a bad use of the faith, but it has been done, and we're a nation on edge right now.
Well, I'm not saying that the people don't have a right to respond and to inquire. That's not what I'm saying. But if law enforcement is educated on it, then they can know they have a plan, and I think that's the most important thing. If they have a plan, if someone is reporting suspicious behavior, they say, okay, someone's praying on top of the Empire State Building, then the people that have been trained, law enforcement, will go respond, right? And they have a plan. They'll engage, they have a consensual encounter with the person.
Well, they apparently did have a plan. They asked them to leave.
Well, I mean, that's
and they refused to leave.
That's asking them to leave because they were praying. That's flat out discrimination. Did they ask them? Did they try to establish if there's any security risk? I don't know that, right? And probably we don't know.
They
details.
Probably won't be able to look underneath the garb because that is considered to be an abomination in many ways. They can't just ask to look underneath the garb to see if there's anything there.
Well, I mean, there has to be a security threat, Ed.
Okay.
If they're dressed in a certain way, is that a security threat? threat. Now, if they're exhibiting suspicious behavior, then absolutely law enforcement has a right to investigate and make sure that there's no crime that's going to happen or going to happen, right? So they have the right to do that. But for them to walk up and because they see someone kneeling and praying and kick them out, that's discrimination, right? So law enforcement has to have a plan. They have to be trained. They have to know what to look for.
Would you then say, I only got about 20 seconds left, that maybe the family should then say, okay, we don't want to create a problem, we'll go someplace else? Would that also be part of defusing this?
Sure, absolutely. That could be a solution that the family did, but do they have to do that? Living in the United States of America, that's the question.
But it would be nice if they did help defuse it as well. I guess we're all just looking diffusing it on both sides to make sure that there's nothing that happens.
Yep.
Right, there you go. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for
good to
having
see
me.
you making
Yeah,
some
good to
sense
see
of what
you.
goes on here. On deck, the political animal chews away on something of a shocker for a struggling GOP. Next, on the Hardline.